Okay, so I finally finished the book 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Hands down, this was a really good book. It was my favorite so far. And this is one of those books that if I could purchase it again, I would definitely do that and then reread it. Like, I could see myself later on at some point this year taking this book out, rereading it for a couple of days, and just having a good laugh, enjoying the romance, and just like immersing myself into some of these scenes. So in this book, I'm gonna try not to give a lot away here, but we have Eva Mercy, who is a best-selling author. She does erotica books, but they're more like a fantasy with a black witch and a vampire. She's really successful. She's working on her 15th book to her series, but she's having a problem with, writing it. And she's getting to the point where she's tired of writing it. But at this point, she's built up such a huge fan base for her books, the Cursed series. And so, she's torn between writing something that she's a bit tired of writing, and she really wants to try something new, something that she's really more passionate about. Okay. She has a wonderful little adorable 12-year-old daughter named Audrey, who's really smart for her age. And as you read it, you'll just get a laugh at Audrey and how Audrey pretty much is like a psychiatrist for anybody. Like, she's wise among her years and she helps her mom out a lot. Eva is divorced, didn't have like a really bad husband or co-parent, but for the most part, she and her husband, she has Audrey most of the time throughout the year. He goes, basically, she gets sent to California with her dad every summer, and he stays there, and she stays there with his girlfriend or whatever. Now to my boy, Shane Hall. Okay, I love me some Shane throughout this book because he's going through it, y'all. But Shane Hall is, I would kind of like, the way that I picture Shane Hall, he's like this bad boy who has turned good. So he's like trying to right his wrongs. He's like trying to do things differently now that he's gotten older. If you are triggered by like drug abuse, alcohol abuse, or like self-harming, this book may not be for you. Like, it goes into that, but it doesn't go so deep into those topics. But Shane is dealing with a lot of that. And he's had some really, like, he and Eva both have a like rough upbringing. And basically, long story short, Shane is also a great selling author who has wrote 4 phenomenal books. And now, because he's made some life changes, it's kind of hard for him to write his book as well. And part of him, without really giving a lot of it away, part of him righting his wrongs would be that he's in his AA meetings. He's been sober for 2 years, and one of those things that he wants to do is finally meet up with Eva from 15 years later to try to just explain to her what happened with their once 7-day high school romance. And so that's basically the synopsis of the book. He is a funny character. I love the way that the author Tia Williams like brings us into the mind of Shane and like what he's thinking, and really humanizes him a lot, because we don't always get that sometimes with black men, and black men who really are needing help, who need to seek some therapy, and who are really trying to better themselves without trying to like put the blame on somebody else. Like, Shane really does take accountability for everything that he did wrong, and he sometimes blames himself too much for some of the things that happened in his life. And that's really what is really hard for him to get past. So we see all throughout the book Shane trying to just kind of get past some things, and he's growing as well as Eva is growing as well. Okay, so now to the fun part. All right, now Eva is writing her book, her series, Cursed, and we have this intriguing vampire character by the name of Sebastian, who basically is described to the T Shane. So it's kind of like this little weird obsession. At first, when I first started reading, I was like, wait, is she just obsessed with him? Because she keeps writing her series involving Shane. But she changes his name to Sebastian. And we have Gia, who is basically her, who is the witch, who's like, has all of this control. They have this undying love, but, quote unquote, things happen, and even though they know that if they do XYZ, that they will not be together, they keep doing it. So that's what makes her books very interesting. On the other hand, Shane has his books, which includes a character by the name of 8. And 8 is basically Eva to the T. And this is what kind of brings us into the beginning of the book, where Shane has now decided that he's gonna go to Brooklyn. It was like I think it's like a writers conference or something like that. And he didn't really know that Eva would be there. He was basically trying to get to the middle connection, which is Cece, which is also Eva's connection and friend, through like her publishing for her books as well as for him as well. And so he's trying to get to Cece to get Eva's contact information so that he can get in touch with her, meet up with her one day. Well, he shows up to this conference and everybody's on stage, Eva included, and they're having like this panel discussion about their books. Eva's really nervous because she's like, well, all of these authors on stage are like really serious, and I'm up here and I have erotica, fun, romantic books. How in the world would I benefit to this? And it kind of changes when Shane gets up there on the stage, because when he's pulled up there to talk, he pretty much gushes over her books. He's basically read all of the series. Can't keep his eyes off of her. She is the same way. The people who are in the audience are looking back and forth, because at this point, Shane and Eva don't really see anybody else in the room but each other. Eva is pissed though, because all these years he never said anything to her, and she's like, why did you just up and leave like that? No words, no nothing. So that's like going in the inside of her head. That scene, it's like you feel like you're a fly on the wall on a lot of these scenes. Like you can really picture it. And the way that Tia Williams wrote this is like, it's so good. It's so good. It's so funny. I like really caught myself laughing at stuff. And as we read throughout the book, we do get glimpses of when they go back into the past, when they were in high school, what happened in 2004, which is so funny. So I was laughing at all of like the pop culture references back from 2004. And we get to see like what their life was like growing up and why that is still affecting them as a functioning grown-up who's trying to like heal and move on and move past that hurt that they had for so many years ago. Okay, so if you love, you will love this book. There are mixed reviews with people that are like, oh, it started off a little too slow. I feel the opposite. I feel like as soon as it started off, it was like, okay, what are we doing? Like the very first chapter is Eva at a party for like her fan club with her book, and they like have all this erotica stuff going on or whatever, and it's like, okay, so there are some scenes, there are some content here that get a little spicy, but it doesn't get as spicy as some of those erotica books are. So that's a disclaimer there. However, there are different parts of like where I'm like, oh, this was so sweet. I kept saying, oh, Shane, oh, Eva, stuff like that. And then I do love that Eva does want to start looking into like her past and, why certain things happen with relationships with the women in her generation of her family. And she wants to break that. And I like how she, takes that account into her own hands and like goes to find out more about who she is and where she's from. So if you have roots in Louisiana, you would probably like this book as well, because her mom, Lizette, who is a hot mess, but you can like hear the accents, the hey baby, things like that. You can hear a lot of that as she, references her mom, or if she's talking to her mom in certain chapters of the book. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I really did not want to put it down. Like, I was sad when I was getting towards the end of the book. Like, I was starting to slow it down. So, and you can actually read this fairly quickly. I got the book on Saturday of last week, and then by Tuesday night, I was done. And that's me making myself stop so that I could have some more to read later, because I didn't want it to be over with. Like, even on the very last page, but I'm like, no, I want to know more. Like, I need a part 2. I need more about what happened. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it just keeps you on your toes, and you're like, oh my gosh, are they gonna make it? Are they not gonna make it? You just kind of go back and forth with that, because the love that they do have for each other is undeniable. And one of the things that I do like about this book is they're not necessarily, in my opinion, they're not necessarily like trauma bonding, but it's more so they get each other. Like, he gets her, she gets him. They both can be really awkward and weird at times, and it's funny. Like, their banter back and forth. Like, they really do get each other, and they can actually be themselves with each other. Like, she's not judging him, he's not judging her, and they love and just adore each other to the end, basically. And it's like, well, if y'all feel that way, are you really ready to like start this new chapter with each other, or are you not? So you got to read the book to see if they really bake it out or if they don't. But it's really worth the read. I would read it again. Definitely enjoyed it.